The day the war could have ended. Wars are not always prolonged by strength. Sometimes they are prolonged by hesitation. In September of 1862, the Civil War sat on a knife's edge, and it may have tipped over 3 lost cigars. My name is Benedict. No, not that one. Today I will tell you about the day the war could have ended. By the fall of 1862, the Civil War had already devoured tens of thousands of men. The Union had suffered humiliations. The Confederacy had stunned the North with boldness. And then Robert E. Lee made a dangerous decision. He invaded the North, Maryland. It was audacious. If successful, it might sway European powers to recognize the Confederacy, strengthen Southern morale, possibly pressure the Union into negotiation. But to do it, Lee did something reckless. He divided his army. He scattered his forces across miles of countryside. Vulnerable, exposed, and dependent on timing. It was a gamble built on one assumption, that Union General George McClellan would move slowly. McClellan was intelligent, organized, loved by his troops. He was also cautious, intensely so. He consistently believed Confederate forces outnumbered him, often by large margins. They did not, but he believed it. And belief shapes behavior. On September 13, 1862, 3 Union soldiers were walking through a field near Frederick, Maryland. They noticed an envelope in the grass. Inside it were cigars. Wrapped around the cigars was a copy of Lee's battle orders. Special Order 191. It detailed everything. Troop movements, timetables, where each division would be. How dangerously divided Lee truly was. It was not rumor. It was not guesswork. It was intelligence. Pristine. Precise. Unbelievable. The order moved quickly up the chain of command. Eventually, it reached McClellan. He read it carefully. And then he reportedly said, "Here is a paper with which, if I cannot whip Bobby Lee, I will be willing to go home." He now possessed something rare in war: clarity. Lee's army was split. Segments were isolated. If McClellan moved immediately, he could strike separate Confederate forces before they reunited. He could overwhelm them. He could crush the invasion. Perhaps, just perhaps, he could end the war in 1862. But war does not turn only on knowledge. It turns on nerve. McClellan did move, but not with the urgency the moment demanded. He advanced carefully, deliberately, methodically. He still believed Lee's army was larger than it was. He feared a trap. He requested reinforcements. He paused to confirm what he already knew. Lee, meanwhile, realized something was wrong. He scrambled to reunite his forces. He tightened his lines. He prepared for battle. 5 days later, at Antietam Creek, the 2 armies collided. September 17, 1862. The bloodiest single day in American history. Over 22,000 casualties in one day. Fields turned to slaughter. Cornfields trampled. Bridges soaked red. Families shattered. The Union technically won. Lee retreated. The invasion of the North failed. But Lee's army was not destroyed. The war did not end. It stretched on for nearly 3 more years. Hundreds of thousands more would die. Historians still debate. If McClellan had moved faster, decisively, on September 13th or 14th, could he have crushed Lee's divided army? Could the Confederacy have collapsed? Could the war have ended before Gettysburg? Before Sherman's march? Before the Wilderness campaigns? We cannot know with certainty. But we know this: opportunity stood in his hands, wrapped in paper, smelling faintly of tobacco, and hesitation gave Lee time. There is something profoundly human in this story. Lee was bold, perhaps too bold. McClellan was cautious, perhaps too cautious. Both men were prisoners of their temperament, and temperament in war can cost nations years. Lincoln grew increasingly frustrated with McClellan. He admired his organization. He respected his discipline. But he needed aggression. After Antietam, Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, a decision shaped by that battle's outcome. And months later, he removed McClellan from command. Not for incompetence, but for slowness. Wars hinge on moments, not just battles. Moments. A letter delivered. A hesitation extended. An assumption unchallenged. Special Order 191 did not guarantee victory, but it offered possibility. And possibility, in war, is rare. History often asks who was right. It rarely asks who was ready. McClellan had knowledge. Lee had nerve. And on that September day, knowledge waited, while nerve regrouped. The war continued, and America bled for it. And sometimes history does not turn on destiny, but on the speed with which a man decides.